Good morning, or good afternoon, Gager.
It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Oil Stream Friday edition of the show. Dusty on the road, Tom Gazzola and Joaquin Gage with you as we get set to head into the weekend after another disappointing night in oil country. Join the conversation as always. Hit us up via the inbox 780-218-9999, or if you're watching on our EST YouTube channel, drop us a line in the nasty chat. Good to see everybody jumping in early. What's up, Gager? How you doing, pal? How was your night? You sent a lovely photo last night. That was amazing.
Yeah, the only one happy in that building was probably Bill Guerin, Doug Waite, and myself, and a few others, obviously. But I was kid in a candy store last night, Tommy. I walk in, and I'm always hesitant to those things. I enjoy them. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like there's certain things and certain events that I get to go to that sometimes I don't know if I earned them well enough, but to see everyone again, and I walk in and right there is Doug Waite, and I say, "Hey, Doug," and he remembers me right away, but I'm just saying, "Oh God, is he gonna remember?" But big hugs, how you doing, stuff, and you've met Dougie numerous times. He's such a good guy, and his dry sense of humor. And then I go into the Hall of Fame room, and there's Bill Guerin. Of course, me being a smartass, I go up to him. I go, "Hey, Mr. Guerin, Joaquin Gage, former teammate," and he loses it, and then he goes, "Jesus, Gage, what happened?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Your hair." And I go, "I know, it sucks." He goes, "We had the same hair." I go, "Yeah, I know, terrible," but it still boggles my mind, Tommy, that I go up to like Grant, the greatest goalie ever, and say, "Hey, Grant," and he goes, "Hey, Gager, how you doing?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, this guy knows my name." So as the night progressed, I got to see my old teammate Cujo, and Bucky was there and sitting with those guys. It was just, didn't realize Billy Guerin and I, we have the same types of dogs, like seeing Allison again, and Allison was cute. She comes up to me and says, "I know your face." I go, "Yeah, well, I played with Dougie." And then she goes, "Oh, Joaquin, right?" And she remembered my it's a name that it's hard to forget at times. So just, man, what a night for those guys. So happy. It's so well deserving. Charlie, salt of the earth again.
Yes.
It's just he was such a great assistant coach that you could talk to, and he was always there. Like, there's a reason why he coached for so long and was so coveted for a while there. Just unfortunately the scoreboard didn't reflect how great that night actually was.
It was spoiled on the scoreboard and on the ice, and we will definitely be diving into that. Gager, this is an extension of last night's post-game show. Last night's post-game show was wild, but I wanted to start on a positive note, and we had to start with that photo, and I'm looking at it right now. It's you, Cujo, Doug Waite, Kelly Buchberger, and Billy Guerin, and you dropped the one of these things is not like the other, and I was like, yeah, obviously Kelly Buchberger.
Yeah, that was good, Tommy. Thanks for making me feel better.
I got your back. And let's just get one thing clear here too about Doug Waite. He's my best friend.
Oh,
sorry. As I displayed on Instagram last night, that's my best friend, Doug. So I'm glad you got to spend some time with I'm just kidding. I'm being totally facetious, but he is such a good dude. And to see the turnout, Gager, like I saw you on the bench, and I saw a great gathering of alumni. Like, there was an awesome contingent of alumni at the press conference to announce these guys, Charlie and Doug, going into the Oilers Hall of Fame, and then to see how many more guys showed up for the night was amazing. I had no idea Curtis Joseph was in town. Like it was like he
Yeah.
just slid in. So I'm assuming that alumni room was buzzing last night. Like give us some of the good here, Gager. Again, we will get to the bad from last night, but tell me some of the guys that were around, because I know you and Chris Joseph did the hangout. I talked to Chris at the rink after, and there's so much good and such a nice vibe heading into the day. And then it obviously got, kicked to the side with a lackluster performance from the group. But just give us some of that good. Give us an essence and taste of it.
Oh man, I mean, I'm still beaming from it last night, hanging out with those guys, just laughing. Tommy, I wish everyone could have been part and hear how those guys talk. It's just like you haven't seen them in decades, and you just pick off right where you left off. That's what Cooge said. Like he's like, we haven't talked in years, and it's amazing how as hockey players we just pick up right where we left. It's family, man.
Yeah.
They're brothers, just from different mothers. It was it was really funny one moment, that was because when they showed the interview with Gene and Billy and Dougie on the big screen, right? But it
Yes.
was pre-taped, so they were already back into the theater box, and Dougie was complaining to Billy because Billy wouldn't shut up. And so I was rolling because Dougie goes, this is my night. Like, of course, this is my night, and I can't get an effing word in. It was just hilarious, man. Those guys, and that's how it was when you played with them. They just ripped each other back and forth all the time. And sitting with Sean Brown for a lot of it, and Brodziak, and Fernando was there, Chimera was there, just reminiscing about I remember the first time that we were joking about Fernando. He was on a PTO with Hamilton at the time, and we walked into the room, and I introduced myself, and one of the other guys I played with looked at him and goes, "You're still here?" And Fernando was all mad, and I didn't know about this guy. And then I always call him Pistol because of his shot. Like, he has a really good release. And I remember, oh, okay, he's fine. Like, because he was injured, and he got on the ice, and he came down to me and took a wrist turn. I go, oh, that's why you're still around. Okay, makes sense now. But telling stories about that. Billy Moores, again, great hockey mind, and just the most lovable guy.
Yes.
And it was great because I always tell the story of when those beast of synergy sticks came out and made everyone all of a sudden a sniper. But when Billy Moores got him, and they were after practice, they're rimming the pucks around the boards. And I remember, Billy, when you got yours, and all of a sudden you were ripping them past guys. He goes, I could never get the puck past till I got that stick. And we just had a laugh about that. No, man, it was awesome. Talking to Cujo about his book, and how, he was explaining how it was difficult to talk about those things as a child, and share them with people. And I was really inquisitive how he could do something like that and put it all out there. And he was saying, this could help someone, and his family was really supportive, and goes, no, you got to put that out there, because you never know, someone reading that at one point, it might help them and get them somewhere. So dude, I am the luckiest guy in the planet to have a night like that last night. Unreal.
Gager, obviously you worked for it to become an NHLer. You played for the team. You had a couple of stints, so you deserve it, pal. And you have every right to be there. And I think a lot of people would agree with that 100%. Really quickly on Cujo, for those that don't know Curtis Joseph's background, obviously a Hall of Fame caliber goaltender, didn't win a Stanley Cup, but was an amazing goalie in the 90s and 2000s. And I think at some point deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and we'll see if that happens. But did not have a traditional upbringing. And he grew up, I believe he was adopted, or he lived with different parents, and they had like I don't know, not a halfway home, Gager, but it was like, it was an assistance or an assistant living type of home, where they had people with mental and physical disabilities, and they lived in like the apartment
Yeah.
part of the facility. And listen, I'm paraphrasing, and I might be getting some of it wrong, but he had a non-traditional upbringing, and he wound up, going through turbulence in his younger years, and rose to the stand or to the NHL. Like, fill in the gaps where I'm missing them, just to give the Coles notes
You,
to viewers and
you've got
listeners.
them there mostly, Tommy.
Yeah,
Just it's more the like reading this. You're like, oh my gosh, and I knew the success and what he was able to accomplish on at the highest level in hockey and where he came from. Just it's an amazing accomplishment. And when you meet Cujo, he's again one of the nicest people
yeah,
ever. And what's really funny is Cujo's known me since I was 14 years old. Because he went to Notre Dame as a
right,
20-year-old, and he was 20. Well, he was on the junior team, and my two roommates both played. They were in grade 12 and both played on the junior team. So Cooge would come into my room, and because I was a goalie too, and they would say, check out the size of this kid's feet, because I had like size 14 feet as a 14-year-old, right? It was crazy. So, and then he said, yeah, I had to come watch you play and look at you, and oh yeah, he's pretty good or whatever. But we had a chuckle that, yeah, I've known him for decades, right?
yeah,
And I remember when he got traded, the well, he was coming, I think, and I tell this story again, and we were laughing about it. I'd never told Cujo this, but they traded for Cujo, and we were at the Oilers golf tournament, and I was in my backswing playing with Scott Thornton, and a bunch of other guys are there on the tee box, and I'm right in my backswing, and Scott Thornton blurts out, "Hey, we just signed Cujo," right? And I paused at the top of my swing. It was, "Not now, Thordy, not now." And so, but it was just an unbelievable journey for Cooge. And like you said, Tommy, he definitely belongs in the Hall in my eyes.
yeah,
He was one of those goalies back then that you don't see much of anymore, where he made a good team a great team with
yeah,
his play. Like,
yeah,
we all know the saves and stuff, but just all the regular play, like every regular season game, how many times, like at least 3 or 4 times a game, they would be chanting Cujo at Rexall at
yeah.
like deafening levels because of his play. And he actually said he would come on to two guys. We might have to make it two goalies and two guys. So he
Oh,
was
that's awesome.
yeah. So we'll have to set that up at some point too.
I've had limited encounters with them, but each one of them have been tremendous. And there's a reason why that he had left a lasting legacy in Edmonton. The two series wins, obviously knocking off the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. His commitment to the community, obviously, as well. But for a guy that only played 2.5 years as an Oiler, like, people revere him, and I think understandably and rightly so. So to hear your side of it from, a former teammate, guy who's known him since you were 14, I think that's a great testament to the type of person he is. Gager, before we start to break down what happened last night in the game, I want to ask you about this when it comes to the Alumni. Because, like, listen, I spent 8 years working for that organization. I was in there. They were Barry Stafford and Bob Nicholson kind of helped spearhead this. And now Patty G's looking after it. The Alumni was forgotten. When I got there in 2010, the Alumni wasn't a thing. It was the banner guys, right? Those were the
Yeah.
Alumni. Those were the guys that they talked about. Now, and especially yesterday, I looked at around that room in the Hall of Fame room. I looked at you guys on the bench last night, and I'm seeing guys from the 70s. Al Hamilton, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, and I know the WHA guys, they deserve to be recognized. I'm glad they did at Farewell Rexall Place. That was great. And I think they still deserve to be recognized as Oilers, because they are. But the 80s guys were there, 90s guys, 2000s guys, 2010 guys. Like, Alish Hemsky was having the best time
Yeah.
of his life. He had not a care in the world. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, yesterday felt like finally there's cohesion with the Alumni, and it's not, oh, here's the elite 80s guys, and oh, you guys are the 90 guys. Oh, there's the 2000s guys. It actually felt like it has come together. Am I right in sensing that, or am I wrong in sensing that? What do you see?
Well, it's the reason why I think, Tommy, is now you're seeing a lot more. I mean, some guys grew up here. Obviously, there's a lot of NHL guys for around Edmonton, right? That have called Edmonton their home. But you're
Yeah.
seeing more guys that maybe like myself, like I wasn't an Edmonton kid, but that after their careers, they're coming back and calling Edmonton their home. And like you said, there's Chimera who grew up here, but Brodziak's here. I think you're seeing more and more players actually coming back to Edmonton and staying here. George obviously has ties here and is in and out. Sean Brown,
Mm-hmm.
obviously he's from Ontario, called Edmonton his home. So I think people are realizing that Edmonton, although it's cold in the winter, you can't beat Edmonton summers, Tommy. It's
No,
the light
sure.
and everything, and look, there's great opportunities for people that have played within the organization to get into whatever their career it is afterwards. I mean, the amount of connections that I've been able to make because I was an Oiler in this town is the reason why. Well, of course, my wife and my kids and my dog, but it's it. I think that's why you're seeing more of an alumni presence, because you're actually getting guys that have played for the Oilers actually going, you know what, I'm going to stay in Edmonton. This is my home now. This is where my kids are. And there's opportunity there for other people. I was talking to Chris Joseph about this too. That we actually have a mixer planned. I think it's on Halloween, just to meet some of the players where we're going to kind of mingle with them, right? And
Yes.
you don't get that a lot with today's player, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, Connor and Leon are going to be Connor and Leon for the rest of their lives. But, there's some players that hockey's going to last a few years. And maybe when you come out of hockey, Tommy, hopefully you're in your early 30s, but in hockey years, you're old as rope at that point. You think your life's over, right? Not knowing that the runway there's still a long time on this runway of life. So maybe seeing some of us and what we're doing and how we've progressed after those hockey years, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's the old cliche. You miss the roar of the fans and competing again at the highest level. It's a difficult transition where you still yearn for it at times, right? But I think that's important too, to kind of bridge the old and the new, to have those little types of relationships and go, hey,
Yes.
what are you doing now? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, that's interesting. I was always interested in that. So hopefully we can bridge the gap a little bit and have even more Oilers call Edmonton their home and be a part of the community, because not I don't think I think that's not only good for the community, but it's also good for the team too, Tommy.
Yeah. Yep. Healthy alumni goes a long way. I like the idea of the mixer. Actually, Barry Stafford was telling me about it yesterday, and I think that's a tremendous idea. And listen, I'll cap it with this. Doug Waite had a good line. He had a few really good zingers in there last night, but the one where he looked back and he's like, I know these guys are looking at me like, who the hell's this guy?
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean, Doug? You're
Yeah.
Doug.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
to an
what did he
extent,
say? I'll hurry this up or whatever. Because
yeah.
I know exactly what that was like, Tommy. We've all had the games where we're sitting on the bench and we're honoring some guy that we don't even know, and for him that just shows Dougie knows, right? He goes, look,
Yeah.
boys, I'll get this done real quick. Like, that was hilarious. That
Yes.
he did. So, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. That was the best part of the night. It was a great celebration, a great honor. And unfortunately, everything was downhill from there. It is the Oil Stream. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage with you right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're listening on our audio stream, you can always join the conversation, 780-218-9999. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, thank you. And you can get in on the nasty chat. Hopefully the conversation's good. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it really quickly. I do have to mention that we are brought to you by Popeyes, who are excited to launch and have launched the sweet and spicy wings, and they're crispy breaded wings with spicy ghost pepper seasoning, tossed with a sweet chili sauce, and come in 6-piece and 12-piece configs. They're excited for guests to be able to choose a wing flavor for the first time. This promotion window has been running for a while, so get those sweet and spicy wings and visit our good friends over at Popeyes. We're at the Popeyes Satellite Studio, aka my condo in the office, and aka Gager's home in his office. And we're happy to be with you on this Friday. All right, Gager, the Oilers lay an egg. They lose 3-0. They have 1 win in 7 games. The record is 1-5-1. Lots of people blowing up about the system. And I'm not going to lie to you. We did the show at BP the other night at BP Capilano. It was so much fun. But Cass and I were talking about the same stuff that you, me, and Belzy were discussing. It just wasn't as egregious as 5 goals allowed in the third period. What stood out to you from last night that bothers you, first off?
Watching the first period, Tommy, I felt it was very tentative. Like they were trying just to get through that period, not let it get away from them. Very cautious, but that can be death as well. And it really, it gave the Rangers a lot of confidence. Not that they didn't already have it, but you could see in that second period where they felt that like they could do anything. And actually, the one bright spot for me, and I know I say this probably too much on the other show, but I'm not on this show a lot, so I'll say it again. Stuart Skinner was fantastic in that second period, man. I sat right above him, and I was some of those saves that he was making, and I'm further up, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a good save. I probably said it 8 times where he was just making save after save, keeping this team in it, and completely different from where, although Jonathan Quick wasn't that as busy, there was a real good glove save that he made on Leon in the first period. And I watched the Rangers bench afterwards. They all got up. Mm-hmm. Like they were like, yes, great save. You watch the Oilers bench, and even good saves don't seem to get them fired up, like it's, as a goalie, that's what you want. You want to obviously stop the puck and stuff, but there's certain moments where I think you can turn the tide of a game. And it was lifeless. Like it was like, oh, thanks, Stu. Like not even going up and a lot of taps on the pads or anything. It was just, they're in a deep crevice right now, Tommy, emotionally. The way they're playing, the execution is just not even close to where it should be. Time to, I forget who I heard, but it's really time to turn the page of everything that you've heard, the last 2 years of success. I mean, I was walking my dog and I'm thinking about what am I going to talk about, because I've heard everyone else and I'm trying to get if this team if Connor McDavid is the only reason this team is successful, they are in so much trouble. And I don't think that's the case, but man, I really thought with Connor McDavid getting injured would completely galvanize this group to become a well-oiled machine of how they are going to play. And they've taken even more steps back, Tommy. It's very, very odd to see the no physical play, the lack of, like, I didn't hear a thing in the defensive zone. We talked about communication, and I was at a point where you could hear there wasn't a word of communication on the ice in the defensive zone, which is death, Tommy. You should be hearing guys yelling and screaming and directing and letting people know. And you couldn't hear a thing. There's a lot of internal
strife,
investigation that they have to do themselves. Okay. That old adage of looking yourself in the mirror and stuff and becoming better. Because look, the one solace that they have is they have millions of people praying that they can pull things together, right?
Yeah.
I know it's dark and people are upset, but man, if they can come out of this and start doing stuff, there's a lot you can gather and bring forward for the rest of the year. But look, man, it's if this keeps going, it's just gets harder and harder and harder to make up this ground and get yourself in a place where you're playing at game 83.
Cass brought up the first point on game changers last night, and it was communication, Gager. And we didn't see it last night. You pointed it out. You couldn't hear anything. You're sitting in the boxes above the one end. We're up in the press box. Usually the sound rises and you could pick up what's being said on the ice, or a little bit of it at least. I know there's 18,000 people in there. And then oddly enough, I'll use this too. Mike Rupp. I'm on with Mike Rupp and Scott Laughlin today on NHL Network Radio, and Mike Rupp in New Jersey is like, Tom, is there no communication with this group when they're
Yeah.
on the ice? Because I can't see any communication. And we were talking about the zone defense compared to the man defense or man on man defense. And he goes, it just doesn't seem like they're talking out there. I'm like, you know what? You nailed it. And you're 3,000 kilometers away in the New York area. And that's something that we've been harping on, because the only communication we really see, Gager, is when the goalie goes like this after one goes by him, whether it's Campbell or Skinner, and everyone's just kind of like, and they just skate back to the bench. And it's incredible that for a team that has this pedigree and a team that has this expectation, something as simple as communication, getting up for certain moments in games. You point out the quick save, and the New York bench is getting fired up. Like, I know sometimes it's cheesy, and I know sometimes guys can be overly enthusiastic, but there's a reason why they are that way, and we're not seeing it at all from the Oilers, Gager. And I think you're right. It is a concern. Like, does somebody need to inject a bunch of BS encouragement and enthusiasm into this group because they're wilting away, or they're so lame duck right now? Like, I don't know.
It's it's odd because I'm trying to think back of the doldrums of certain seasons where the team wasn't going right, and it's hard. It's hard to like. It's just like when you're winning. It's almost like you can't stop when things are going so well. It's a weird feel, and this is just to pull yourself out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I really I don't have the answers, Tommy. This team shouldn't be where it's at with the personnel involved.
Yeah.
That we talked about I talked about leadership this year and the maturity of these guys, and I I liked the fact that guys were having kids and things, and it was more of a family. That's one of the reasons. We talked about it last night, was when Billy got traded, and I've talked to you. The whole team was at Bill Guerin's house that night, and
Wow.
there was certain guys had to go outside because they were crying, losing a player like Billy, and some of the toughest guys you'll ever meet were doing this, and
Mm-hmm.
it was such an emotional thing. But they were family. And I don't see that kind of camaraderie on the ice. There's just nothing there with this team right now. I mean, they should be able to do it, but it's frustrating, Tommy, to see that there's not even the slashes, the whacks, you look for anything at that point. Struddy was saying that, like, there's not even, like, after the whistle, they can't wait to just get back to the bench, it seems like, and
Yeah.
just move on. There's the emotional level, it has to be ramped up. Like, when do you say enough is enough with this? And you heard Darnell Nurse saying, he said some good things last night, and plus the expletive, but uh, talk is cheap at this
Yeah.
point. You can say it as much as you want. And it was great. I heard Cass, we got to get him a whiteboard, because him breaking down those things in your mind's eye, I could kind of see them. But yeah, it comes down to will and execution,
Mm-hmm.
and both those things are nowhere close to be able to win at the NHL level.
Okay. let's dip into the inbox here because people need to have their say. They need to vent. They are frustrated and totally understandable. And I think you summed it up nicely. There are other aspects of the Oilers as a whole that we need to touch on, and we certainly will. But Coach Mike says there are comparisons being made to the 2017-18 Oilers that missed the playoffs. This roster is far superior to that team. They just need to play better. It starts on Sunday. That's from Coach Mike. Gager, I did not want to compare this team to the 17-18 team. That was a disastrous year. I said Peter Chiarelli built up the team in 16-17. Then he dismantled it in 17 and 18 by getting rid of veteran NHL players, putting too much on young guys, and the season just caved. It imploded. And sadly, we are starting to see that. I was so hesitant to make that comparison. And I think on Wednesday's oil stream, I finally was like, yeah, it feels like it's going there. So how do you compare this season to 17-18, 18-19?
It's a little bit different, Tommy, because Cam Talbot came off a year where he covered up a lot of mistakes, defensive mistakes that the Oilers were making, right?
Mhm.
So you move forward to the next year, the goaltending wasn't as solid as it was. Cam Talbot couldn't, I think he was exhausted. He just couldn't repeat that performance without a little bit of help, right?
Mhm.
And I think goaltending was a big part of that. This season, the goaltending, in my mind, has been good enough for you to win hockey games, right? There's too many good scoring chances that you're giving other teams. Like the Oilers aren't generating those. You don't see guys just coming into the slot without anyone on them with time to pick their spot. Like it's it's a they should be able to lock some of these chances down. But again, it's communication, Tommy. It looks like they're just so they don't know what they're doing when the puck comes over the red line. It just seems like everyone's just falling back into a position and there's no eh,
Jam,
no one jumps. No,
gusto,
yeah, just
like
like taking the initiative and
moxie. Yeah.
It, it's it's so it's so lax. I couldn't believe that
Yes.
last night. I was stunned. I had to leave after like 10 minutes of the third. I didn't even watch the rest of the game because
You
it
didn't miss
was
anything.
yeah, no, I didn't think there was a massive comeback and
No.
in the works at that point. It was just the Rangers had complete control of that game
Yeah.
and they looked like big boys playing against little kids.
And it shouldn't be that way. Fen and Fernie says, "Hey guys, this team's not scary enough. No hitting. Boston is 7-0 with a Jesus thrown in there. The Golden Knights are also perfect on the season, by the way." Mike says, "I just realized the Oilers got shut out by Jonathan Quick. I always thought Igor was playing no Shesterkin last night. Jonathan Quick has a fantastic record against the Edmonton Oilers, but not so much in recent years. And as you pointed out, Gager, you gave Quick credit for that nice glove save. He made a few pretty good saves,
Yeah, but
but
he
he
wasn't
really
using it.
wasn't tested, right? Like
No.
they didn't get to
And
him.
that was the when I saw that he was starting, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the biggest slap in the face ever." Like it's not they wasn't back to back and they gave Quick the game against the Oilers when they have the one of the best goalies on the planet on the bench. You know, it that was like, "Oh my, that's I would be upset and take that to heart if I was the team knowing you're going up against their backup while you know who the other guy is and
Hmm.
coming off a season where you're the most dynamic offensive team ever. Yeah, that's everyone. The word's out, you know, and
Yeah.
they're no one's going to help them. They got to do this themselves.
Yeah, they really do. You're watching and listening to the Oil Stream right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. The Oil Stream and Edmonton Sports Talk brought to you by Boston Pizza. Watch the Oilers at BP. $5 off medium pizzas, $1 off tankards of Canadian or Coors Light, and 550 shots of Fireball, Jaeger, Burt Reynolds, Purple Rain, and Honey Jack. All that good stuff. Fireball, aka Birdie Juice, Gager, Birdie Juice. Let's go into the nasty chat. I saw this. I know there's a conversation happening amongst some of our viewers, and I'm gonna pluck one comment. It came from Tango, and I saw the same theme last night in some of the texts and in the nasty chat, and it continues, and rightly so. Tango and I think this comment's going towards others in the conversation. I want to make that abundantly clear, but I'm going to pluck it and get Gager's thoughts on this. Tango just said, I don't think he's lost the room, and that's in reference to Jay Woodcroft. But if they don't turn it around, he's gone. And listen, I have not seen Jay Woodcroft at a loss for words ever. I have not seen Jay Woodcroft not seem like he was composed and in control. Last night, watching him when we played his clips on the post-game show and then listening to him, it feels like that grasp is slipping. And that's concerning because the 1,000-mile stare got Todd McClellan. It got Ken Hitchcock. The 1,000-mile stare got Dave Tippett. And now I think for the first time, Jay Woodcroft has it. And Gager, I mean, the heat gets turned up on the coach. That's a natural thing when a team's struggling. This is supposed to be the guy. And even he seems to be shrugging and scratching his head going, what the hell's going on here?
I think he's as puzzled as most Oiler fans, Tommy. He doesn't understand why the effort and the execution isn't there. I mean, it's such a weird time. Like you can't fix this with other things. I don't think, like, coaching change. What is that going to do to this team? Like, it's the guys on. I mean, unless it's Babcock and something weird is going on, the guys in the room are the only people that can turn things around at that point, and really, to me, is a new coach going to change the effort level that you're getting? These guys should be going a billion miles an hour, even if they're making mistakes, but they should be mad enough at the way things are going that at least you see some. I'm not going to say it's tough to say because I know guys don't go out there and just mail it in. Like they're trying hard, but it's getting that other level, and that's on a player. That's something inside you that says, I'm not gonna take this anymore. I'm gonna make a difference. That's where it has to come from. It doesn't come from your head. It comes from your heart, and that there are certain coaches that can push buttons and get things out of players that are great, but this isn't that case yet. And I think it would be a really unfortunate with the success that Woodcroft has had over the last 2 years. And I think he knows these players. He knows, and it's just having a new guy come in, Tommy. I mean, I guess if they keep going, they're going to have to change something, and they can't make any roster moves because it's impossible.
Yeah.
The coach will be the first guy to go. So they have to do something, or it's going to be another. I mean, how many coaches is this for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins if this happens again? That's you got to take some onus.
Yeah, just to play this game again with Nugent-Hopkins, Tom Rennie, Ralph Kruger, Dallas Aikens, Todd Nelson, Craig McTavish, technically briefly. Then they had Todd McClellan, then they had Ken Hitchcock, then they had Tippett, and now Jay Woodcroft. So, I mean, they have changed the coach so many damn times here. And I know that's the natural conversation that does occur. And I get that. And it has to be talked about because, again, Jay himself couldn't hide it last night. I felt, knowing him for the last 8 years, that was Jay Woodcroft disheveled and disturbed by what he's witnessing. And you're right, Gager, they can't make a move. I know people were suggesting call up Lavoie, call up this guy, make a trade. They're so up against it that they can't. Like you said, it's impossible. And they would really need to shake things up to make a move. They back themselves into this corner.
Yeah, it's got to come from the room, Tommy. That's the only way this is going to change. And the onus is on the players to say enough's enough.
Mm-hmm. Propane Pimp texts in and says, isn't it funny how a new coach like Peter Laviolette can install his new system on a veteran hockey club and they take it into the opening 10 days, yet Woodcroft can't get his message across to his veteran team. I'm losing faith in Woody. I, I think it's these guys not just, it goes in one ear, out through the other, or they just stand there and they're not listening. I mean, Gager, the system is another thing that has been discussed. They just don't execute. They
Yeah.
simply don't execute.
Tommy, if they
Go
were
ahead.
to go revert back to say last year's system or whatever, yeah, I don't think it would matter. It's not
Mhm.
that's not the switch that all of a sudden they start rolling again. It's the I said it too many times, but it's the effort and the execution of that system with and sprinkle in communication,
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit more desire. I feel like a little more meanness, a little more
Yeah.
toughness. Like they have the ability to lean on teams. The Oilers aren't a small team, but when you
No,
look at them, they look small out there. Like
they play small, Gager.
they there's no like that's what the one thing it does remind me of 17-18, where when I watch a hockey game and I'll think, oh my gosh, that was a tough game. There's some sore bodies in the dressing room after that. Like, you watch last night's game and I guarantee you the Rangers, it wasn't hard. Like, it wasn't a difficult grinding game to play against where you were someone always in your face and having
Mhm.
to not always getting railroaded and smoked, but having to battle through players to get to where you want to be. And that's how great teams play. They limit your space and time on the ice. We saw that. That's how Vegas plays. I watched a snippet of their game, and they are just suffocating and fast and finishing and making it difficult on the skill of the other team.
Mhm.
Um, the Oilers are so capable of that with the personnel that they have, but it's a yeah. There's not a lot of ice bags at the end of the game, Tommy, and there needs to be.
Yeah, it's not happening right now. That's for sure, Gager. All right, 780-218-9999 if you're listening. And if you're watching, you can dip into the nasty chat. I see you. I'll get to some of those comments. I want to get to Jasmine's text here. I didn't say this in jest. I kind of joked about it. I'll read Jasmine's text and I'll sum up what I'm getting at. Jasmine says, do you guys think playing at the Heritage Classic will give them fresh vibes with a different atmosphere, especially since we should be able to beat the Flames, says Jasmine. And Gager, I talked about '03 and that team in the 25th anniversary of the franchise in the National Hockey League was having a pretty good start to the year. And I know that game was in late November, but they lost. And then the season kind of took a left-hand turn and went sideways. We're watching this team come out of the gate sideways. Could this maybe wake them up, as Jasmine is alluding to?
This game should be like just junkyard dog fighting tooth and nail. Both teams 4 losses coming into this game, right? Um Kumite style blood sport, Tommy. Like,
Yes.
both, like, we've heard things from down south, what their players apologizing to fans, Zadorov, like, for their play.
Yeah.
We're hearing Darnell Nurse just F bombs in interviews. So, tell you the truth, Tommy, I'm really looking forward to Sunday, because if there is the same type of uh intestinal fortitude that's been lacking with the Oilers in this game, I mean, by all accounts, you should have a Calgary Flames team that's just as hungry and wanting to turn their season around as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because this is gonna really show me what's inside this Edmonton Oilers team. Are they just gonna try to go out there and throw their sticks and skate fast or are they gonna grind the team and make it very difficult for 60 minutes and make it almost impossible for them to do things? That's what I'm looking forward to after another lackluster performance. I'm looking forward to it. This will show me what they're actually made of in this young season.
I love how you dropped intestinal fortitude. We don't hear that enough anymore. So nicely done, Gager. Cozy texts in, says, "Hey fellas, how about getting any kind of contribution from the bottom 6 players in your lineup? Bagels across the board." That one from Cozy. I saw a few times, Gager, and listen, maybe you see it differently. Maybe you didn't catch it, but there were a few times where Leon Draisaitl had the puck and he looked off Derek Ryan. And I think there was it was a bit of an odd man rush at one point. And instead of making one of his patented backhand passes to a wide open Ryan, he instead tucked it and tried to take a low percentage jam play towards the side of the net. And Jonathan Quick just stood there. I don't know what to say about the bottom 6. They have roles to play. Most of them are PK guys. They're not getting a ton of ice time. The Oilers are taking stupid penalties at inadverse times. I don't think they're getting into any kind of flow and rhythm, even when they're playing 11-7. I don't know what to say about the bottom 6 outside of the fact that, like the guys above them on the roster, they're not doing anything. How do you see it?
Yeah, this is tough to say, being a former player and things, but Tommy, I look back to in my younger days and seeing the evolution of certain players when superstars, when they went from that, the 120, 130 points down to 190. When your top guys are playing a way that is physical and sacrifice on the opposite side of the puck, it's not always going, I'm going to go score goals. When you see the effort on the things that are more, playing offense is fun, playing defense is hard, and it's not always the best. And until you get the commitment from the top guys to play a certain way, it's so difficult to ask other guys, well, you got to go out there and block shots with your face and hit everything and get the puck deep and finish checks when you don't see everyone do it, right? Well, and I know you have two of the greatest players on the planet in the moment, but I look no further than the guys that was on the Hall of Fame last night. Doug Weight would never ask anyone else in the room to do something that he wasn't willing to do himself. And not only did he say it eloquently in the room, but he also led by example on the ice. And until you get that type of commitment from the top guys, it's not going to filter through the lineup. And I mean, look no further than last year when you had a whale of a player with the Golden Knights, Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
When that guy's one of the most skilled guys, and you saw him playing a simple, hard-nosed game. Sure, the skill did rear its head at certain cases, but he played the simplest game, and he's a Stanley Cup champion.
You are listening to the Oil Stream on a Friday after an Oilers loss. Boy, it's getting tiring to talk about that over and over again. Now, of course, parts of this show brought to you by our good friends at One Putt Virtual Golf. One Putt Virtual Golf, brand new facility, features 6 TrackMan bays. It's the same technology that the PGA Tour uses. Great spot for group events, birthday parties, Christmas parties. Also awesome to watch Oilers games. Hopefully they're winning and the night gets better at One Putt. They're located at 6816 178th Ave, North End, my old neck of the woods in the city. Kid friendly as well, and does have free arcade games, complimentary snacks, and a large selection of adult beverages. So go check out our good friends at One Putt. If you need to blow off some steam after a bad Oilers loss and you want to smack some golf balls around, go see the group at One Putt. They are tremendous. Gager, I'm going to go to the nasty chat and Hontorio Momes and Zedmo. I'm gonna read this from Zedmo, tongue in cheek, but I like it. Line brawl off the puck drop at the Heritage Classic, Zedmo. Yes, that would be wonderful. To be honest with you, talk about that as its own chapter in the long history of the Battle of Alberta. Hontario Mome says, Ray Ferraro today said copying team systems like it will work for your team is a loser strategy. You should be trying to change the game, not follow. So what you do, Zone, don't you think Cassidy has an answer? I think I get the gist of that, but the copying of other team strategy, a lot of people saying, well, the Oilers are trying to copy the Golden Knights, Gager, after they lost to them last year. What do you make of that thought and what Ray brought up?
There's always a lemmings attitude to the winner the previous year, right? Like I remember when the Kings were winning, everyone went fast, big, heavy, right? That was the blueprint. That's tough because over the 82 game schedule, you can't always play that way, right? It wears you down a little bit. I think there's little bits and pieces that you can take from other teams, how they play, but that depends on the personnel as well. You can't you have to read who you have on your roster and develop a system with the players that you have. And look, it's and Cass has said it too. It's not rocket science what they're doing here. It's not.
Right.
We're not doing 12th grade algebra here. Well, maybe we are. I know, but
10th grade biology apparently
Yeah.
for me as a top student, according to Jay Woodcroft. First time anyone's ever said that.
So it to me, it's not. You can take bits and pieces, but it doesn't matter. The systems, the things, it takes buy-in and effort, and you're not seeing it. I think you can take a little bit because the Oilers were exposed last in the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm getting tired of talking about last year too, Tommy. This is like I think we're stuck in the past here. We need to fire up the DeLorean and up to 88 and get to the future here, because you live in the past, you're going to be stuck there.
Yeah, well said. Great reference, Gager. On point today, buddy. Let's get to a couple texts, then we'll look ahead to the Heritage Classic. AJ Wooderson says, anyone notice there is no bass in their voices when they're angry, upset, or frustrated? Or even when things are going well, there is no life in their voices and body language. It's like they're all third graders reading a report. AJ Wooderson, that's a great way to put it. And yes, shocking, but there's some truth there. And then Jason LeDuc says, I don't understand why someone would change a system when the old system was working just fine for the last quarter of the season. The team was so good defensively down the stretch, and now you can change it up. Not every system is suited for every roster. I think the Oilers are proving that.
And you might see that, Tommy, as soon as Sunday. You might see them revert back to what they were doing before, because look, it was successful.
Yes.
I heard someone mention it too. Like it got you to the second round of the playoffs, and you could say that. Well, I hate to say it, but one of your major issues in that series was goaltending and getting a timely save, right?
Yeah.
So it did come down to that. We'll see Sunday, but it could be a good thing that a coach says that goes, guys, look, this isn't working. Let's go back to what we were doing before. That could be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna, everything's just to feel a little bit better about yourself. You can hear it in guys' voices, and like we're not in the room, and I'm sure if you were, you could hear the bass in some guys' voices as they're speaking to their teammates.
Yeah.
But again, this has to be, it's a fine line with leadership too, in a dressing room, asking people to step up their game when your game's in the toilet as well, right? Evander Kane was the best example of saying stuff out in the media. I'm sure he was saying things in the dressing room too, but then to go up and go out and show that he's willing to sacrifice and do those things. I thought that would kind of bring some more people into the fight, but it hasn't, and that's why you got Evander Kane in the first place, to draw more people in emotionally, physically, and get a little bit of a mean on in games.
Gager, we're going into game 8. This team has 1 win. It's a marquee game on Sunday. All the eyes, the national spotlight will be on Commonwealth Stadium. It's the Battle of Alberta. Should be a great celebration of our city, the province, the game. What does this team need to do to get a damn win? Seriously.
It's hockey's tough. It's like, it's golf too, a little bit, but with the 20 guys, it goes south quick, but it can also go the other way quick too. And man, I you have to look forward to this challenge as a team, and each individual, looking to the left, to the right of you, start all those little cliches. You play for the guy next to you, and he plays for you. They're all in this together. And I mean, the exciting thing about that captain skate is what I being a former player, I miss, is that camaraderie and that talking about what you're going to accomplish. They have to get back to that, and block out all the outside noise and us telling them how bad they are. Right? Like that's, and just know that to be able to accomplish something as a group is way better than doing things individually. And once that happens, and feeling that joy, there's nothing better on the planet. And that's the kind of thing, if I could get in there and give them a speech, Tommy, that's what I'd do.
Buddy, I'm ready to run through a wall for you after that one. That was fantastic. I'm inspired. Fantastic work as always, Gager. Thank you for hopping on today. Always appreciate it. Great analysis. Thanks for the story time too. A little peek behind the curtain when it comes to the Oilers' history and the alumni.
Oh, it was great.
Absolutely,
it was great,
fantastic.
Man. It was so good.
Cool.
So good.
Yeah. And hey, buddy, it's always cool to see those pictures. And like I said, Kelly Buchberger was the one guy that was not like the others in that photo with you, Cujo, Doug, Bill Guerin, and who was the other one in there?
Cujo, Billy, Doug.
Yeah.
And
that was
the other thing. This is how great, like, Huddy and Dougie are. Bucky had to get on a red-eye flight to Toronto and get to Rochester to coach his team. But he came into Edmonton because it was that special night. I'm sure it won't be long till Kelly's honored too. So yeah,
he's a good dude and a great Oiler. Good point, captain, and people loved him here and still do. So, Gager, great stuff as always. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully, see you on Sunday at the game. That'll be excellent. Big thank you to all of our presenting sponsors: One Putt Virtual Golf, Cool Bet, Boston Pizza, and Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. For Joaquin Gage, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you for tuning in to Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're watching, drop us a thumbs up on the YouTube channel, and thank you for texting us. We appreciate it, and you can listen to us now on the TuneIn app. Have a great weekend. We are on the air for the Oil Stream pregame show, 3:30 p.m. on Sunday as the Oilers look for a win in the Heritage Classic. Till then, see you later.